Start your business for the freedom of time. Now you're tired of the hustle and grind. There's gotta be a better way. It's time to listen to Chill and Prosper. Welcome to Chill and Prosper. You're ready to chill and prosper with Denise Duffield-Thomas.
Hey friend, today on Chill and Prosper, we are talking about dealing with clients who don't want to pay, clients who stop their payments, all of those juicy things. I've done many episodes on this, but I actually feel like we're due for a refresh. So even if you've listened to previous ones, still listen, right? Because I feel like previous times that I've done episodes on this, like the economy absolutely makes things like this worse, okay, with default payments and stuff like that. So that is what we're going to chat about. And I think I even got a question out of this too. I'll start with this one and then we'll go to default payments, right? Because it's really, a lot of it is the same. So an anonymous question came in. It said, when should you give someone a refund versus standing up for your business and not giving the refund? And there's so many layers to this when it comes to dealing with money and having money conversations with our clients. And I've done both. There have been times where I've had someone really unpleasant and horrible and I've just gone, have the refund. I don't care. There have been other times where I've gone, no, these are my terms and sorry. Okay, so I'll share with you two of those things. So I used to have a 60-day money back guarantee. And I remember just like, it was just the done thing for online courses back then, especially. And I remember someone even saying, have a year's refund, like it doesn't matter. And I was always just very zen about it and just thought, okay, if someone doesn't like me, that's totally fine. But what I realized was 60 days was way too generous for the people who were just scammers or people who were just taking the piss. And it famously happened for me. We did a launch on the 24th of October and the 60 days just happened to fall on Christmas Eve and we had a record amount of refunds. And it broke my heart a little bit because it was the first and only time I'd really taken it personally, where I thought, wow, it's Christmas, so everyone's wanting to, get a little bit of extra money, and it's come straight out of my pocket because it wasn't really truly a refund because it wasn't a good thing. These were people who fully participated in live calls. This is when I used to do like 6 weeks of live boot camp. Participated in the group, asked questions, had coaching, like all of these things, like really truly got their money's worth out of Money Boot Camp. And then just because they had a loophole and just because it was Christmas, went, you know what, I'm going to take my money back. Thank you. And it was hurtful. It was the first and only time I really felt like, oh wow, that was so unfair. And it just wasn't fair. So I made a decision after that. I changed my money refund guarantee thing. Some of my programs, it's a week, some of it's 2 weeks. And then I started drip feeding out things so you couldn't get bonuses for certain times. And I just thought, you know what, that's fair. Because there will be people who will, I've seen it a million times. They've scammed so many people. And here are some things you can do to avoid it. So one, just be really clear on what those parameters are, how you can get a refund. I'm not a huge fan of like, oh, prove that you did my thing and do the homework, because I can't be bothered with that. I'm like, if it's within like the week and they legitimately have a complaint and I haven't given them the whole world and they haven't been able to download everything and it's just not them, have your money back. It's totally fine. And I'm just super zen about it because I've put those things in place. You don't get everything. And also you don't get to participate in all the live calls and, it's just a fair thing, whatever. I've seen it on the other hand too, where people have fought it and sometimes it's worth it and sometimes like PayPal will back you, sometimes the company will back you. I've seen someone be in litigation for like 3 years over like a $5,000 thing and it was the principle of it, but I just think, do you have the time, the energy, the money to fight for the principle of it? Don't give someone a refund because you're worried that they're going to badmouth you, because if they're someone who's done it to 1 million people, they're not going to badmouth you because they don't want it getting out. Like literally if they go, oh, this person's done this and they won't give me a refund, someone else will be like, haven't you done that to like 5 other people? They are the biggest cowards. So don't feel like you have to give someone a refund because they're like threatening to ruin your reputation. Like screw them. And also don't be afraid of getting a less than 5-star review on something. Sometimes it's like, you know, when you see a business and they're like really defensive and they're like, no, you start and you go, oh no, they are the problem. But if someone's just like, sorry, this is what we tried to do for you, and we wish you the best, you kind of go, that's balanced. You know, I get suspicious about 100%, happy customers because I just know it's just not always possible. So it's up to you. Do you have the time, energy, bandwidth? Have you been really clear on your boundaries? Because sometimes it's easier to give the refund and then change your system. And I saw this recently. Someone said, they had an option on their sales page that someone could pay now or they could get invoiced, and they chose the invoice option, and it was for quite a small amount. And then they sent the invoice because the person got the thing and they just never paid. And I was like, take that off. And they were like, really? But some people are like, no. You will get this more and more and more. People will just go, oh, well, I'm not going to pay it. Like there are absolute scammers in the world. So you can shift things like that. You can take non-refundable deposits. You can step out work. So if you're a website designer, they don't get the full thing until they've paid. Like you can hold things back. Sometimes you'll get people who bully you into giving things before it's all paid, and you just have to stand your ground on stuff like that. But I've also seen people who go, oh, someone's asking you for a refund because they bought like 3 years ago and they're coming. And I was like, well, did you have like terms and conditions in there about how long they had to use it for? No. Well, sometimes you just have to suck that up and learn from that and move on. Like it's hard, but sometimes you just have to move on from things. And like, yeah. I've seen it though sometimes where you give in to one person and then you get a whole bunch of other refund requests. So talk about it with your coach. See, are you really in the wrong? What part am I have to play? What part do they have to play? I also had someone who reached out and said, I bought your bootcamp a year ago. I didn't do anything with it. I've also realized now that you're a witch and it's against my religion. I was like, sorry, no. Like I just went, that's a ridiculous request. And I think sometimes people do it to a lot of people at the same time. They're just like looking around, oh, who's vulnerable? Who can I exploit here? Who's just going to say yes? And I just went, no. Like that's so rude and ridiculous and entitled. No. I've had someone also reach out and say, I don't know if this is true. I didn't do any like major digging. We did it and said, my wife just died. I noticed that you've got these payments going out. Do you mind telling me what it's for? My gut said it was real. And I just went, I'm so sorry, about your wife, and we're refunding the whole thing for you. Don't even worry about it. Like you can be a human about it, and you can also like be normal and say no. Hopefully that helps. Okay, let's talk about default customers, because as I said, this is something that happens more and more when economies are uncertain. I don't know the exact stats off the top of my head, but I have noticed the last couple of years our default payments have increased quite dramatically. And it really does follow, like, say, for example, in Australia, our interest rates went up. We had more defaults from Australia. When there's, crazy things happening in America, we often get more defaults in America. So it's totally up to you in the first place if you want to offer a payment plan. It works for some businesses, it doesn't work for other businesses. Okay, so if you've got a physical thing, obviously it's going to be really hard to collect payments from people after you've delivered that physical thing, because some people will just go, I've got the thing, what are you going to do? And a lot of small businesses are very reluctant to go the legal route, especially for small amounts of money. It might cost you more in time and effort and all that kind of stuff. Oh, also, I should have said this right from the start. Disclaimer, I am not a financial services expert. I'm not a HR expert. I'm not a lawyer. Okay, so you always have to look at what's legal in your state and country, because I'll have people say, you're not allowed to, to say no to refunds in my state. Cool. Check the law for your state, okay? don't at me. I'm not responsible for your business. Should have said that from the start. And I really want to keep to the mindset around this too, is that sometimes the mindset around payment plans is off. So you might do it because you feel really bad or guilty that people can't afford your full price. But you also then have to have the mindset and the courage to actually deal with the aftermath of this. Okay, I've had people who say, I offer payment plans, I've never had a single default. And I just go, cool, but volume will mean you will have more of them. You know, so just in Money Bootcamp alone, we've had 10,000 people. Some of my other courses, you know, we've had like 8,000 transactions. Like we've had, call it, I don't know, 100,000 transactions in my whole business, right? And we've offered payment plans on most of those courses. Of course, as the numbers get bigger, it's just going to fall out into this very predictable kind of, like, we'll know how many defaults we'll get and we can just plan for it accordingly. So if you're going to like literally take it personally and get rejected and feel like you're going to die, don't offer a payment plan. It's your business. You can choose. And if someone asks you, do you have a payment plan? You can say, no, I do not have a payment plan. Nowadays though, and I have very mixed feelings about some of the Afterpay, PayPal, whatever. So there are companies that you can just add into your cart and they collect the payments for you. So if they default, they collect them. If in some cases they pay you the full amount and then they collect the money and the interest. The reason why I'm a little bit reluctant sometimes to work on these is because I know that I got into a lot of trouble with credit cards in my 20s in particular. And if those things were around, I would have gotten in so much trouble. I know some people are really smart with how they use it and they're, you know, all those things, and they can be responsible for their own stuff. It's a little bit tricky, I think, for me personally. That's why at this moment, we don't offer those, although maybe we'll try it in the future and just experiment with it. Because when you offer payment plans and people default, it costs time, money, and emotional bandwidth to deal with. Now, I'm talking there'll be people who will email and say, I'm sorry, my cat just died. What do you do in that situation? So I don't personally handle these. We've either ever done it internally, so my assistant Melissa has to deal with it, or we've outsourced it to a company. We had a company called Gravy do it for a while, and they do it for a living. And you have to like make a judgment call sometimes. Is this person telling the truth? Are they lying? Is it my responsibility to cover their commitments? Is it, you know, are they going on holidays but just deciding not to pay you? There's so much nuance. It is not like a black and white thing at all. And this is why so many people add on an admin fee, or it's a bit more expensive to do payment plans. Please check with your country and state for this, because there's different laws around it. But the reason why it is more expensive is because it takes so much more work. Some people will pay their payments, no problem. Some people will miss a payment because their credit card's expired. Or for me, at least once a year, I have to get a new credit card because I've been hacked or whatever. And so sometimes people will be like, hey, Denise, your credit card's like expired or whatever. It's because I've had to report it lost and stolen and I can't remember all the payments I'm on. And it's like, oh, no big deal, let me fix that up. But it takes time and energy to write that email, to keep track of it all. And, you know, you have to either do it yourself or you have to pay someone to do it. Okay, so there's a real mindset piece here about, are you going to be okay to have these conversations with people? Now, a really great way to offer payment plans is to do it before the thing. Okay, so I've seen this work really well with like retreats, travel things. Like you might have a yoga retreat coming up and you can start the payments before the retreat. So then by the time you get to the retreat, it's all paid for. That's a really easy one, because then it's like, oh, I'm getting excited about the thing. You can automate that. You know, there's a lot of different ways that you could do that. Again, checking your country, because sometimes it's then acting as a travel agent. Oh, it's a whole thing. But it's really hard, as I said, to offer a payment plan after the fact. We do that, but it's because the nature of the thing that I'm selling, it's a digital course and a community. It's not like it's costing me a lot to deliver that thing. And then if someone doesn't make the payment, I can take their access away for that thing so they lose the benefit of that thing. Does that make sense? And so I'll often do, I've tried a few different payment options. I'm going to take a quick break and then let's talk about it again. I hope this hasn't put you off it, but I just want to be realistic about it. And I'm going to talk about the pros of offering payment plans and stuff too, okay? I promise there are some. It's your time and you're ready for the next step. It's your time and you're ready for the next step. It's your time and you're totally ready for the next step. So many times we are waiting for the perfect moment, for all of the green lights or for someone else to tap us on the shoulder and say, you're ready. But it has to come from inside you. And you can declare yourself ready now. Put your hand on your heart and try it with me. It's my time and I'm ready for the next step. If you know deep in your heart, even if you're scared, that you're ready to let go of some of your money fears and finally profit from your skills and talents, it's time to get to work. Your next step is to come and join us in Money Bootcamp. You can work with me as your money mindset mentor and join our beautiful community so you can really give yourself permission to make money and change the world. Click below to find out more, but don't wait any longer. Come and join us today. We're ready for you and it's your time and you're ready for the next step. Okay, I know I probably scared you about creating payment plans. It's fine. So there are a lot of pros to this. So of course, some people, they do need payment plans for literally affordability, where they're like, I don't have that upfront money, especially for something like an event, so I can, pay it off as I go. Even for things like our Money Bootcamp, sometimes it's not an affordability thing. It's just people are a little bit cautious about, the full $2,500 for Money Bootcamp. And so they're like, well, if I pay it off in installments, then in their mind, they're like, it's not as big a commitment, even though they're still on the hook for the whole thing. It's just like a mindset shift for them. I also think too, that's why some people opt for annual pricing versus a pay-as-you-go monthly. If it's a software thing and you're paying monthly, like it's not as a good price, but it doesn't feel like you're trapped in it. Okay, and some people just like to manage their cash flow in that way. And I've heard this from very successful, wealthy people that they prefer to pay on payment plans just to manage their cash flow. They're not that bothered about that it costs a little bit more. It's a managing their cash flow thing. Also, some people do it from an accountability thing. If they see that money go out every month, they're more likely to use the thing to get their money's worth out of it. Otherwise, they're kind of like, it's already been spent. Does that make sense? So some people do it deliberately for that. In our launches, it absolutely increases our overall launch revenue because sometimes it's been 50-50. Sometimes literally it's been 50% people pay in full, 50% people pay on installments. And so of course, if we didn't offer that installment, some of those people would have just gone, well, that's the only option, I'll join anyway. But a lot of them might not have joined. So it absolutely can increase your revenue in that way. But as I said, there are implications for that, customer service implications. Now, let me share another little pay strategy that worked really well. And I'm not sure if we're still doing it. I'd have to check in with the funnel peeps. So with my manifesting course, back in the day, it was, I think it was like $300 or something. But in the funnel for it, people would go through the free workshop and then say, hey, look, if you want to join this now, I'll take $100 off the price. It's $199, right? Or $197. And so I'd get a bunch of people join there. And then the next day I'd send an email and say, hey, do you want to pay this off over 2 payments? One now and one in a month. And so I would get almost the exact same amount of people again to buy on that 2 pay. And because it was only a 2 pay, it was way less stress, obviously, because they already paid half of it and then it was only 30 days later. What I find is when people default, a lot of the time it's like month 3 or 4 that it defaults. They've kind of forgotten about it. The dopamine hit's worn off a little bit. And so that worked really, really well. It was still the same price, and actually there wasn't an extra admin fee on it, but it was just like, hey, do you want to do this thing? Like, you're still interested, you're still opening the emails. So I love that as a strategy. And also because like the people who pay in full, like there's no benefit either way. Like you will sometimes get people who go, well, if I'd known that option was available, I would buy that. And sometimes then we'll go, okay, well, you can join the payment plan now. Or it's tricky because then some people will just be like, oh, well, I'll just refund and pay the payment plan, and just go, it can just be a bit of an admin bloody headache. But that worked really well. So you can choose how many payments you want to do it, and sometimes we'll look at, I know this sounds funny, sometimes we'll look at the number and we'll go, that number's a bit ugly, or it doesn't quite work. So why don't we do 11 months, or why don't we do 10 months instead? We even did one time as an experiment where it was like a weekly one. So it was like, it's only $100 a week, and it was actually, it's funny, psychologically you go, oh, it's only $100 a week. But they could have done the monthly one where it was like $239 a month, but instead they were paying like $400 a month. But it just worked out, so they paid it off quicker. But it just, in their mind, they were like, $100 a week. It's just easy for me to think about, So it's fascinating how all of these little psychology things really work. So you can choose 2, 4, 6, 12. It's totally up to you. There are no rights or wrongs about it at all. Obviously, the longer you have, the more admin that you have to take care of with people. Now, here's a cool strategy that we've done too. We just have it in our automated funnel for Money Bootcamp. If someone joins on a payment plan, we send them a message. I'm not 100% sure what month it is. It might be 3 or 4. And we say to them, hey, hopefully it's all working out for you and this is really great. Do you want to pay it off early, and we'll take off that admin, like that extra admin charge? And it's surprising how many people will just go, oh yeah, perfect. Because the people who are opening the emails and, engaging in the work, like they've probably manifested more money, right? And so they've gone, may as well, and they think, oh cool, I've just saved however much it is, a couple $100 in admin stuff. And that's a really great strategy for us too, because then it's fewer people to have to manage later down the track. Okay, and then what do you do when people default? How do you handle it? So depending on what system you use, like if you're using PayPal or Stripe or whatever, sometimes there is a thing in this system that you don't have to even deal with, and it could be an automated email, and it could just say, hey, just to let you know that your payment has defaulted, here's how you can clean that up. Now, sometimes it's a link and they can just pay, depending on what your system is. But I really highly recommend, even if it costs a little bit of money to set up, get your web person, get your funnel person to make it automatic. Sometimes some systems will try their card a couple of times before they trigger that email. Sometimes systems will lock people out of stuff straight away. Sometimes they don't. It's really all different. But just getting that communication in writing, just to say, hey, just to let you know, your payment has declined. Here's how you can fix that up. Easy breezy, not blaming, assuming it's just been a mistake, assuming that they're well and happy to fix that up, okay? And then still you can automate those follow-ups. So for example, if you're in Xero, the accounting software, you can set it up that they'll get a reminder every however long until that's paid. And you don't have to deal with that personally, right? What you normally do have to deal with though is, again, those like people email back and say, my cat just died, or, I can't afford it, or whatever. There'll be a lot of back and forth stuff around just the human emotions of it. And we've been strict with people. We've also been lenient with people. You have to have someone in community service. Sorry, not community service. I can't even think what I'm talking about. Customer service. Oh my God, my brain. Customer service who can deal with those nuances, right? And to have compassion, but also like know when to stick to those boundaries. We've let people, we've created an additional payment plan for someone to pay it off at like $50 or whatever. But all of those exceptions take time, admin, and then you have to, have a spreadsheet to track it all. That's the best thing you can do, is just have those automated emails that go on. And after like the first 2 reminders, I think it's then you can tell people the consequence of it going, hey, just to let you know, if you don't update by this day, we'll have to revoke access to blah, 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 or you won't get, your thing delivered, or, you won't be able to come to class anymore, or whatever it is, until it's taken care of. And you can still be just nice and it's taken care of. Then what you could do is, depending on your local state laws and all that stuff, is that what is the consequence, and so for some people it could be, we'll have to take you to small claims court, or we'll have to take legal action, or whatever it is. I find that, like, honestly, 80% of people it will just be some sort of admin thing, or they're like, I'm really sorry, I get paid on Thursday, because it's totally okay for you to expect payment for something that you've put out. I serve, I deserve. You don't have to take care of everybody and their responsibilities. I know that sounds harsh, but that's what it is. Sometimes people have like an admin fee attached to things like that. It's totally up to you. In some businesses they charge interest. Interest will start to accrue from this date. Check in with your local lawyer and all that kind of stuff of what you could do in your industry for that. But it's totally okay just to ask for your money. It really is. It's as simple as that. And I know it's a scary topic, but don't be afraid of it. And I really want you to celebrate if this happens to you as well, of like, it's a rite of passage. It's a business rite of passage, and you can learn from it all of the time. So another couple of tips. So number 1, tighten up your terms and conditions. If there's something in there, as I said, where you really don't have a leg to stand on, you weren't clear, sometimes you just have to suck it up, and you can either refund people, let them go, or set a new boundary. So say, for example, where I was talking about the refund thing, where if someone's come back 3 years later and said, oh, can I have my thing now? You can then set a new boundary. You can say, hey, yep, great. Usually we have a 12-month expiry on these things. I noticed that we didn't have it for yours, or it wasn't clear. So here's the new boundary. You have to, I will, honor this, but you have to use it within X amount of time. There are different laws in different states. I know that gift cards, for example, in New South Wales, I think it's 3 years now that you have to honour things. It used to be 12 months. So you can go back and learn from that and go, okay, chalking that one up to experience. I'm going to make sure it's really clear now when people get things, what part's refundable, what's not, whatever you need to do to tighten those things up. Because sometimes people don't mean to be entitled. They just like, I don't always read things very well, right? And I love it when someone says to me, hey, no, this is the thing. I go, oh, thank you for telling me. So I'm not just being an entitled asshole behind the scenes. I don't know. I didn't see. Another one that's super helpful is having an assistant or a third party or a fake assistant to do this. I know some people think that's really like disingenuous to have a fake assistant. I actually think it's good to have that good cop, bad cop dynamic sometimes. And I think when you are familiar with someone, they can kind of take you a little bit for granted, but having someone else, like Dan from accounts, Steve from accounts, Dave from accounts, I think is a good one. They can be the one just to be like, hey, just to let you know. And they can just, my lady was Sabrina. She's just a little bit firmer than me. And it was great. So I could be good cop and she could be bad cop. Okay. I don't think that's a problem. And you know what? It's just that inevitability and that rite of passage that things like this will come up. Don't be afraid of it. Have a plan in place, have those emails ready to go. And then it's just a business rite of passage. It really is. Okay. So I would love to hear from you. Has it made you want to do payment plans, or is it absolutely scared you off forever? Oh God. Yeah. I'm sure there's people out there with horror stories too around it, but don't worry, it's just a rite of passage. Okay, one final thought for you after this break, and I'll see you there. See you in a sec.
So I have done the money boot camp, and there's so many things I could share, but one of the things I loved is the incremental upgrades and the idea that you start slow with the upgrades and it feels like it's going really slowly, and then all of a sudden it'll just be massive. And I just went, oh, okay, well, all right, let me do it. So the first thing I did was I got sunglasses, which I had a really beautiful pair of sunglasses like 8 years ago. And then one day I sat on them and I was like, that's it. Like, you're never getting any good sunglasses again. You don't deserve it because you just sat on this, and that's it. You're too responsible for it. So then I always had these crappy sunglasses, but I love sunglasses. So I got these sunglasses and I got 2 pairs. And actually the less expensive pair was an Anchor that I started having, cause they're like rose gold and they just like make me feel like hot and like I got my shit together. And, I've got this selfie of myself where every time I'm feeling a bit like wobbly, I'll look at that and be like, yeah, okay. So, I upgraded that and like just did the course. And then literally within probably six to 12 months at the very most, I think it was less than that, we bought the apartment next door. We have done an entire renovation of the whole place within a year. And it was like, it started so small and then it just went like these massive opportunities came up that would never have been there before. So that's been incredible. And really just also like, as a female, it never occurred to me that it's not a common thing to be like not only a breadwinner, but like running a company. And I was just like, oh, this is just what you do. And then just realizing there are so many things that you face that are not only you, like whether it be the tax thing or whether it be, oh, I can't make more money than like the male figures in my family. And like, just doing all that work to like see what's in the way, the negative consequences, has made a really big difference with that. So, yeah.
Okay, so I think sometimes thinking about this stuff, it really brings up some of our money blocks. It brings up our fear of being disliked, of being thought of as unreasonable, of being misunderstood, being thought of as being a bitch. All of those things are absolutely real and valid. And something that my money mentor, Kendall Summerhawk, said is that it should never be hard to ask for money, and it should always just feel like you're saying something neutral, like please pass the salt. And if you can take out the unfairness and scary stuff out of it, and you can just be like, hey, please pass the salt, like please pay the money, then it will be much easier. It'll be much easier. And it doesn't mean you're bad for this happening. It's just going to happen. Okay. So don't even worry about it. And if you need more scripts to help you, I've got an ebook called Awkward Money Conversations Made Easy. And if you just go to denisedt.com/awkward, there's a lot of word for word scripts that you can use in there about, entitled customers and asking for money and people who are turning up late. All of those things are a symptom of boundaries, giving yourself permission to set them, to ask for your money. That's okay. Yeah, it's totally fine. It's going to happen. And I want to celebrate you. So if that's happened and you don't have anyone to talk to about it, please send me a DM and let me know, because it's a rite of passage and I will congratulate you. Yeah. Okay. Yay! We can do the things. We can do the hard money things and have the hard money conversations. I will see you next week. Have a great week. I'll see you next week on another episode of Chill and Prosper. Bye.
Start your business for the freedom of time. Now you're tired of the hustle and grind. There's gotta be a better way. It's time to listen to Chill and Prosper. Welcome to Chill and Prosper. You're ready to chill and prosper with Denise Duffield-Thomas.